Nick Clegg was the man who held the balance of power at the last general election, but if recent polls are to be believed, the Liberal Democrats could all but be wiped out in large parts of the country when we go to the polls in May.
The Deputy Prime Minister joins us now from Bristol. You're announcing today plans to help improve local economies, but Labour already saying that you failed to support local areas for so long. This is really too little too late.
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? But, of course, this is all part of the rebalancing of the British economy, which is necessary after the terrible cardiac arrest that happened on Labour's watch in 2008 when they let the banks get away with blue murder. And what this is about, it's a very simple idea, is taking a great chunk of money. I'm announcing a further £1 billion today that previously was kind of, held and hoarded in the clammy hands of bureaucrats and ministers in Whitehall, and transferring that money, hook, line and sinker, every penny and every pound, into the hands of decision makers locally. In places like this, here in Bristol, where, for instance, the money here locally will be used to support innovators and entrepreneurs in this business centre that you can see behind me. But a whole bunch of other projects across the country, whether it's boosting superfast broadband in Cornwall, redeveloping Gatwick Station, even a project on driverless cars in the West Midlands. And the whole idea is very simple, that as we rebuild our economy, as the economic recovery takes root, the best way to do that is to make sure that those decisions about how money is spent are taken locally, and that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past and that outdated philosophy that somehow Whitehall always knows best.
£1 billion is what's being spent. It sounds a lot, but when it's spread across the whole country, you've mentioned a couple of the projects, that's going to spread quite thinly. Sure. We're intrigued, how do you decide that an area like Leeds should get £627 million, but Liverpool should only get £263 million?
So you're right to point out that this, in and of itself, is not a sort of magic wand that's going to transform everything. It's actually part of a journey, if you like, which we've been embarked upon over the last few years. So last summer, for instance, we announced £6 billion worth of money to be transferred out of Whitehall and put into the hands of local decision makers. And we've also provided to Liverpool and Leeds and every major city and area across the country city deals. We announced just before Christmas a significant new city deal in Sheffield, where I'm an MP. Prior to that, George Osborne announced a similar one in Manchester. So it's part of a journey where we basically decentralise everything away from Whitehall, just by the way, as we of course devolve a lot of things from Whitehall to Cardiff, Belfast and Edinburgh. So as we devolve things across the United Kingdom, we also need to decentralise how money is spent and decided upon within England, and that is what this is all about.
Talking about things being spread thinly, a lot of concern or talk about how weak your polling is at the moment. I think one of the worst puts you at 8 points behind UKIP, level pegging with the Greens. Talk of you effectively being wiped out as a real party in this election. Have you already started thinking about a coalition and not really thinking of yourself as a party?
Look, I've been leader of the Liberal Democrats for 8 years now. I've lost count of the number of apocalyptic predictions that the end is nigh and the Liberal Democrats are going to be wiped out. Every single time we confound the sceptics, confound our critics, and we will do so again in May.
And then it just exploded, didn't it? I mean, we look at the statistics. It was 177 million views for the YouTube channel, which is extraordinary. The first book, Tea Time with Sophia, Grace and Rosie, your cousin, of course.
Yeah.
You got the New York Times bestseller.